Hey everyone, I was just getting kind of bored here while driving. I'm on the 5 going northbound to Sacramento for a work gig, and I just was listening to some videos online on my phone here while I'm driving, and there was one particular video that I watched from Kidco News, and it was talking about Bitcoin and how what was it, El Salvador and I think Argentina, or maybe not Argentina, or maybe not yet, but for sure El Salvador has adopted Bitcoin as like a kind of like a currency for their government. And I don't know, one thing led to another. I kind of went down a rabbit hole. You know, my YouTube channel is not really about financial education or anything like that. But one thing that I and I've always known this, it's just after watching, you know, a couple hours of video, listening to a couple hours of stuff while driving here, because I got a 5-6 hour drive. Yeah, but like I said, I've always known this, but ever since COVID hit, and then the government just decided to, save everyone, that was their thing, right? So, like, they needed to be saved in the first place is another problem, but anyway, the government thought it best that they're just going to print all this, they're just going to create all this money, and save everybody from economic disaster. And I mean, there was money raining from the sky, during that time, right? And all those PPP loans, that all this money went to the wrong people because of scam artists, and you could look all that stuff up, but it's true. I mean, the money that was meant to save people just went into corporate pockets, or it went into the pockets of scam artists and all that kind of shit. So, and then by creating all that money they just literally like created money that doesn't even exist. It's a piece of paper, says an amount on it, here you go, like, we just made this. And they made a bunch of it, right? What was it? $5 trillion during that year. And now we have a budget deficit of $33 trillion, almost. I was just reading an article the other day that said, I think last month alone, the government just went in debt another $250 billion in 1 month alone. Our deficit went up $250 million. It's like absolute nuts. So if this kind of stuff continues, I mean, that's why we're seeing all this inflation. If this kind of system continues, and I have no doubt that it won't, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And those of you guys who have dollars, right? I mean, we live in America. This is our system our financial system is built around the USD, and everything you buy is bought with it. So you need to have dollars, because that's what goods are transacted in, is dollars. But you always got to keep in mind that there's the old inflation tax, right? Whatever that number is, year over year, month over month, whatever you want to say, it's always eating away at your dollars, that inflation. And I really don't even, I really lost almost all faith in the central bank. I think they're a scam. I think that the dollar is just devaluing slowly over time. It's going to be worth nothing eventually it's going to collapse like every other currency eventually does, and then it'll be replaced by something else. It has to. It can't continue on this path where the debt is just continuing to go up and up and up, and it just, I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm really going to take a hard look. Well, I've already pretty much made up my mind, but I'm going to be buying Bitcoin, and it's sad that it took me so long to realize the I don't know, the Bitcoin is decentralized. It's not controlled. It can't be controlled by the government. It can't be inflated. It can't be created. There's a finite amount of it, and I'm really convinced that Bitcoin is going to be adopted more and more by more and more countries as their reserve currency, and I think that's going to take time. Obviously, we're talking decades and decades, maybe centuries, but I think that's the course we're headed on. And I mean, literally, it took me so long, and I don't know why it just occurred to me now, but I think what Bitcoin solves is it solves that devaluing of your dollar. If you want to think of an asset that you can buy that doesn't it's not going to be devalued by some government entity or by a central bank, or manipulated or used as a weapon, like with tariffs and all that other stuff that the U.S. government uses the dollars for to control other governments around the world. What do they call them? Not tariffs. Oh, sanctions. I mean, the dollar is just, it's interesting. It's interesting how, inflation works, and how, literally holding dollars in your bank account is probably the worst thing a person can do, because of what the central bank is doing to the money. And it's going to only get worse and worse and worse and worse. It's not going to get better, because they're not going to change anything. They haven't demonstrated that there's any intention of changing the way things are. And what are they going to do? Get rid of the central bank and go back to a gold standard? No. Certainly not going to do that. They're trying to implement that central bank digital currency, CBDC bullshit, that they're trying to basically make their own form of Bitcoin, because they realize how well Bitcoin is working out. And they know they can't control Bitcoin, so they want to create something that they can control. And I don't think it's going to work out too well for them, because I think they're already behind the curve. But, so with that being said, I just wanted to make this video because I really do believe that Bitcoin, and like I said, I really, really wish I could go back in time and buy Bitcoin when it was like $1,000 a coin, or $600. I remember that. I remember those days. Not too long ago, actually. It was just 10, 15 years ago, and it went from $600 a coin to 69,000. Right, was the all-time high. $69,000 a coin. So I feel like I'm getting in later, but actually, if you really just do a little bit of research, watch a couple of videos on it, or you'll find that I think Bitcoin is still in the early stages of its development, and I think that it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And I think Bitcoin is going to be, with more time, it's going to be adopted by more countries, more payment platforms. It's going to be a lot bigger than it is now. And it's going to, the utility of it, that's the word I was looking for. The utility of Bitcoin is just really, really amateur at this point. And I think it's going to grow into be something huge in the next 10 years, 5 years. So I'm not going to put all my dollars, I'm not going to sell all my certificates of deposit or stocks or bonds or, stuff that I have, my investments, and then sell everything, then pour all that money into Bitcoin. I'm not there yet. I'm just saying that I have a lot more faith in it now. Like it's an epiphany, I have a lot more faith in it now than I have ever. So what I'm going to do is I'm waiting for Bitcoin to pull back a little bit, because lately it's been going straight up. Who knows? Maybe it'll keep going straight up. I don't know. But I'm hoping for a pullback to mid 30s or something like that, and I want to step in and buy pretty heavy. I have gold and silver too, bullion, that I have in my safe, and I'm gonna end up selling that as soon as I get done with this work gig and I get some time off. I'm gonna go sell all my gold and silver bullion and exchange that for cash, and then I'm gonna use that cash and I'm gonna buy Bitcoin with it, because that's actually another thing that occurred to me is gold and silver used to be what people used to avoid the inflation tax, right? They would put that in there. And I'm not saying gold and silver is a bad thing. I think that's I have it there. I have gold and silver for a reason too. It's a store of value, right? It can't be. You can't create gold, right? Like you can fiat currency. There's a finite amount of it, right? So, but I think that gold and silver and commodity, metals are kind of almost like old news, It's like old hat, and I think Bitcoin is the new hat, and I think Bitcoin serves the same purpose as gold and silver, as a store of value. And I know people don't really think that way about it because it's so volatile. It goes up and down in really huge swings. But I think that's gonna it's gonna level off, in the next 20, 30 years, and it will just be way more stable in price. The price will be much more stable. And that's what people will do. They'll look at Bitcoin as a store of value, a store of wealth, like they do gold and silver, or they used to. I don't know. It seems like there's a trend going right now where people have gold and silver has lost its favor, and it seems like Bitcoin has really picked up a lot of favor with the institutions and stuff lately too, I mean, Warren Buffett and, R.I.P. Charlie Munger. I know those guys think it's a crock of shit, but I think those guys are so old school. They don't really care. They don't really care to learn. It's just those guys are really old school. So they think it's a scam, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. But you can really see Bitcoin being adopted by more and more governments and things like that. And dare I say, some of the, I don't know if you're, this is kind of a religious thing, But if you're a Christian like me, there's a biblical prophecy about a one world currency in the end of days that could quite possibly end up being something along these lines. I'm not saying it would be Bitcoin. Obviously, that would be impossible because, like I said, well, it could be, but the government could just, not accept your Bitcoin or whatever. But they couldn't really, it's decentralized. But you know where I'm going with that. So, one world currency, I kind of think that might mean a digital currency, right? And it's a prophecy in the Bible. That's just a small point of what I was thinking about. But anyway, yeah. So I just thought I would make this video because I was bored and that was what's on my mind. So, but yeah. As soon as I get back home, I'm gonna freaking, I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm just so over this. These dollars that just don't mean shit. It's just somebody gave it a value, just like Bitcoin, right? It just became valuable, just like dollars became valuable or whatever. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I had to say. Thanks for watching. I know that's, a lot different than what I usually do on this channel, but it was just something I thought was interesting at the time. All right, guys, take care. Have a great holidays.